Melech HaMashiach at the doorstep.
Melech HaMashiach at the doorstep. Take it away, Rabbi Yaakov, Tzvi, Heber, Halevi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh bidvaro.
Amen.
As was mentioned, we're now holding Hey Sivan, or are we at Dalet? So we're still at Dalet.
Towards it.
Sorry, let me fix that. Dalet Sivan. Sorry, should have known that.
It's okay.
The count for the Omer is 48.
Yeah, almost
6 weeks, 6 days, coming towards the finish line, coming to the climax, to the point of excitement. We're entering the second of the Shloshis Yemei Hagbala, our last lap. Last week we spent a great deal of time explaining how when it comes to Chag HaShavuos, the amount of ruchnius, of spiritual awakening that will glean out of the yontif solely depends on how much effort we put into the hachana, into the preparation. This is a yontif of hachana. We've prepared for 49 days, working and working and working. Even the 3 days preceding the yontif are called Shloshis Yemei Hagbala. It's to prepare. The 3 days to prepare, to get ready for the great revelation that is about to take place in Toronto, Canada. Not only on Har Sinai, 3,000 years back, but in Toronto, Canada, today, coming. The gates are about to become unlocked. The shopping center is about to open. Are we prepared? I was thinking, perhaps one of the earliest Divrei Torah that I remember seeing as a young child on the Haggadah. I used to have this the original art scroll Haggadah, still available, and has little commentaries, some from Rabbi Rucham of Mir. Rabbi Rucham Levavitz, of course, the author of Das Torah, comments on the Dayenu. He says, "Ilu karavnu lifnei Har Sinai, should you have brought us in front of Har Sinai, v'loi nasan lanu es Torah, and had not given us the Torah, Dayenu." Yes, what's pshat? What would be the meaning of coming in front of Har Sinai had we not received the Torah? We only celebrate the Keravnu Lifnei Har Sinai because of the Torah that followed. Says Rabbi Yerucham of Mir, it's not the case. Not at all. The gewaldige revelation that we experienced at Har Sinai was just a reflection of the hachana, the preparation that we made in order to be makabel the Torah. The more you put in, the more you get out. The more money you bring to the table, the more you can buy. Ilu kiravnu lifnei Har Sinai. Should you have merely brought us in front of Har Sinai, working our way out of the Mem Tes Sharei Tuma, rising through the ranks of the Mem Tes levels of Tahara. V'loi nasan lanu et Torah. even if at the end we had not received the Torah Dayenu, that would have been enough, because we've accomplished what we can do over here. The Arusa Shalmata, the Lisata, this spiritual awakening, the Koyach, the energy, the power that we put in ourselves in order to become vessels that are roy, that are fit to accept the Torah. That itself is the Avodah, as we mentioned last week. And that makes us feel a little bit rotten, because the days have gone by. We've counted and counted the days, and then some of us have just wasted them away, not taken advantage, not prepared properly. Sure, we all feel that to an extent. Have we really focused? Have we become better people? Have we made commitments? Have we said Nasa V'Nishma? Have we dedicated ourselves? Have we worked on our Bein Adam L'Chaveroi? Our Omer Rabbi Akiva V'Yahavta L'Reacha Kamoicha? Our Ki Mechabdai Achabeid? Have we worked on it? Or have we wasted the opportunity? Or most of the opportunity? And I forgot who says this vart, and I just simply didn't have time to look at my notes to check who it is. It says in the pasuk, one of the great Rebbes say, "Uspartam lachem b'machras haShabbos, miyoyim haviachem es ha'omer hatnufa." You should count from the day after Shabbos, from the day after the first day of Pesach. I'm sorry? Sheva Shabbosos Tamimos Tiena. There should be 7 weeks. Ad mimachras haShabbos haShvius, until after the Shabbos haShvius, the 7th Shabbos, until after the 49th day. Tisbru chamishim yoim. It's a little bit of a repetitive verse. Right, you count 49 days until after the 49th day, then you'll count 50 days. Then you'll count the what? Says the Rebbe, whoever he may be. He says, Ad mimachras haShabbos haShvius, until the Machras haShabbos haShvius, until after the 7th week, you can still count 50 days. Tisbru chamishim yoim. One can still count 50 days after day 49. Meaning, even if you've messed up, even if we've missed it, we missed the opportunity. So as long as we have even 1 hour left, we can still Tisbru chamishim yoim. Yesh shkoina olamoi b'shah achas. There are those who can acquire the world to come in 1 hour. And similarly, we can acquire that ruchnius, that his oirus, in 1 hour. Ad mimachros haShabbos haShvius, we have until the end to capitalize. Don't give up. Al tisyayish. Don't lose hope. Tisbru chamishim yoim. You can count 50 days in the last second. We still have an opportunity to prepare ourselves properly. As we know, Shavuos is the yontiv of preparation. Right? On Pesach, you got to eat the matzahs. On Sukkot, you got to sit in the sukkah. What do you got to do on Shavuos? Eat milchiks? Cheesecake?
No.
What do you got to do on Shavuos? It's not a mitzvah d'oraisa to eat cheesecake.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen that in the Torah?
I don't even think Rashi or Tosfos comment on it.
Rav and Rabbi have an argument on it, though.
No. I didn't see
They have an
the
argument
Gemara.
with
I haven't seen the Gemara.
So what do you do on Shavuos? The answer is you don't do anything.
Study Torah.
You study, but what? And if you don't, and if you can, if you're sick, what happens? If you can't stay up at night, if you're just not, if
Constitution, you don't have
yeah.
a
What do you do then? You're not included in the Mekabelei Torah.
You're excluded.
You're excluded. What do you do then?
Miss the boat.
Yeah, you daven, but you daven on every yontiv. Yeah, you try to be makabel the Torah and davening, and you try to go out of Mitzrayim on the davening on Pesach. But what's special about Shavuos? And the answer is Shavuos is what you've put into it. Shavuos is what you've become at the second it enters. Are you a people that can connect to God through the Torah, or are you not? If you've worked on yourself, then you become mechuber. You become connected. And if you haven't, so there's always a chance next year. Tonight we counted Yesod Sheva Malchus. Tomorrow Malchus Sheva Malchus. I'd like to talk a little bit about Malchus. What is Malchus Sheva Malchus? What's the King of Kings? We say Kadosh Baruch Hu, right?
Yeah.
Malchus Sheva Malchus, right?
But it's the aspect of being a melech of all kings.
What is that? It's incredible. It's an incredible concept. You know, Judaism is fascinating in the sense that whatever we think is true is always the opposite of truth. Whatever the human being imagines is true is generally completely false. And whatever we think is completely false is often true. Right? I'll give you, this is the best example here. What is a king? So we're thinking, right, we had Victoria Day this Monday. We celebrated Queen Victoria, right? And her daughter, her granddaughter, Queen Elizabeth, or whoever she is, and she's been the ruler 60 years.
And the Einikel is here in Toronto.
Where's Wesley? Okay.
Prince Charles was here.
Prince Charles was here. Great. So he was here. Malchus means wealth. Malchus means
power,
authority, respect,
authority.
Right? Oh. That's not what Malchus means. At least that's not the Jewish Melech. The Jewish Melech is actually the exact opposite. The Jewish Melech might as well jump into a dumpster, jump all the way down, cover himself with garbage, and then come out, because that's exactly what he signed up to be. He's
absolutely true.
He has to be completely mevatel himself. He has to be complete. I am a nobody. I'm nothing. I'm a garbage man. I'm a whatever the lowest. Garbage men are way higher on the social ranking than this fellow, the Melech of Klal Yisrael. Because he's nothing. The Gemara says, "Ein Melech b'loi am." You can't be a king.
Unless you have a nation.
You can't be a king unless you have a nation, right? But it's more than you can't be a king unless you have a nation. As if you aren't. The only thing a king is his nation. That's all you are. If your nation, right? If you're a Rebbe and you have tens of thousands of Hasidim, then you're a great Rebbe. If you're a Rebbe and you have two Hasidim, then you're a good Rebbe, but not a great one, right? It doesn't matter how much you know or how smart you really are, right? You're just a reflection of your Am. You can't be any more powerful than your nation. The greater and more powerful your nation is, the greater and more powerful you are. The less powerful your nation is, the less powerful you are.
Period.
The more honorable your nation is, the more honorable you are. The Melech has to be a slave mamish to his nation. Who is the Melech? That's Yehuda. Yehuda is the Melech. Right? The Shevet Yehuda, or Yasser Shevet Yehuda. The staff, the kingship won't go out from Yehuda. Yehuda is the one that when he realizes he does something wrong in the Maisa of Tamar, he says, Tzad kami meni, she's right, I'm wrong. Right? When was the last time a king or somebody you imagine to be right for a king should say the words, I'm wrong? It's not true. They're always right. They can't be wrong. Anything they do is right. But Yehuda says, Tzad kami meni, he's mevatel himself. Right? He says, I'd rather admit that I've transgressed the lowest of the low than have somebody else die at my hands in an innocent way.
But wasn't B'nai B'Sera very similar to that?
In what way?
With Hillel.
Hillel.
You know the answer. We give up our leadership. We give up our crown.
Right.
It's yours.
Right.
And not many people do that today.
No. You know, David HaMelech was the same way. He's not even a human being.
Yeah.
He's just a worm. You know where worms hang out, right?
Yeah.
He's just a worm. I'm a little life.
I'm nothing.
I'm nothing. I'm not anything. I have nothing of my own. David HaMelech. I'm just not. Simply nothing. Why? Because I'm hollow. If you're not ready to be mevatel yourself, if you're not ready to completely disengage from your personal wants and drive towards kavod and gaiva, then you're not a king. You're not a leader. A leader is somebody that's completely bottled to the
total
will.
Submission. Total
Submission.
The more hollow, the more you can receive.
Yeah.
Right.
So famous Semes have said it before in the shir, points out when Moshe Rabbeinu goes to fight Amalek, right? The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah comments, "V'chiyadav Moshe oisos Milchama, shoveros Milchama." Is it the hands of Moshe that make, right? If you pick up your hand, then you win. The pasuk says. If you put down your hand, then the Amalek wins, right?
Yeah.
Right? That when Moshe's hands go up, the Gover Yisrael. When Moshe's hands go down, the Gover Amalek. So the mission says, "V'chiyadav Moshe oisos Milchama." Is it the hands of Moshe that make the war, that cause victory for Klal Yisrael? So a shoveros Milchama, or make lose the war. So he says, no, Bisman Yisrael mistaken l'mala. When they look above, right, and they look towards the heaven and they remember Hashem, then hayu goyvrim, v'im lav hayu noiflim, and if not, they will go down. So someone says that first of all, what do you mean v'chiyadav shomaisos oisos Muhammad? Is that a question? Of course, it's the same hand that split the sea. That's the same hand. Of course, they don't mean to say that it's not Hashem, it's Moshe. What's the Mishnah's question? And also in the pasuk it says, "V'gover Yisrael" or "V'gover Amalek." Either Yisrael will be victorious or Amalek will be victorious. In the Mishnah it says, when Yisrael is looking above and his hands are going to be up, they'll gover Yisrael. And and if not, hayu noiflim. It doesn't say "V'gover Amalek." It says that the hands of Moshe will go down. It's a change in the way in the description. It says. The Sasem is a beautiful word. Mamash a beautiful word. He says that the chiyadav shel Moshe oisos Milchama. It's not the hands of Moshe that are make the Milchama. It's Klal Yisrael that caused the hands of Moshe to go up. That's what they were asking. It's no. When Klal Yisrael was mistaken kavod mala, how you right? They would go up. And if not, then they would go down because the Hamoyam, the Klal Yisrael, caused the hands of Moshe to go up and down.
Right.
Because a leader is nothing unless his tzibur is mistaken kalpei mala. If not, then there's no sense in the leader either. He's not a person in and of itself. He's only a reflection of the tzibur.
That's Malchus. Malchus is a reflection of all the other kelim. And that's through the reflection it can send it all back up.
The Yom Tov of Shavuos is specific in this sense. When we were Makabel the Torah, we said Nasa v'nishma, which means we're completely mevatel ourselves. We don't exist. Nasa v'nishma. We'll do whatever you want, and we'll work it out. I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to go swimming. I might not have time. Well, whatever. I'll do it. Don't worry, it'll get done. I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to take care of it. And then afterwards, Nishma. Then you can explain it to me. That's the Yontif of Nasa v'Nishma. And the preparation, the split second before the Yontif comes in, before the Yontif of Shavuot is upon us, is Malchus Sheba Malchus. The Malchus Sheba Malchus is the Nasa v'Nishma. Because the Malchus Sheba Malchus is the greatest level of bittul that a person can reach. The King of Kings is the emptiest. The one who's most Moser given over to the Klal. That's the King of Kings. Let us think for a second. Who is the King of Kings? And who's his nation?
Klal Yisrael.
Klal Yisrael. So guess what's happening on Shavuos? The King of Kings is saying to us, guys, girls, everything I am is for you.
Right.
Let's think about it for a minute.
So didn't they say though that Hashem put himself in the Torah? Like it says in Shabbos, I believe it's 112, Hashem puts himself in the Torah, and therefore if he puts himself in the Torah, he gives the Torah to Klal Yisrael. So really everything that he is,
he's giving to the Klal. Amazing words.
Say again, Marcel.
It says in the words of the Torah, Hashem put himself into the words, into the document of the Torah himself. So therefore when he gives over Torah to the nation, he's giving himself over, which is what Malchus Malchus really is.
Let's try to understand even more. Why do we read Megillas Rus on Shavuos? Megillas Rus, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at the last few, okay, it's the whole story. Rus becomes a Giyores, Nami, and whatever the whole story that happens. So the husbands die, they come back, they want to become converts, and then they go to the Boaz, right? And eventually there's this relationship between Rus and Boaz, and from that marriage, from that relationship, comes
David
HaMelech.
Ultimately.
And ultimately the Melech HaMashiach.
It's a key relationship.
It's the seeds of Melech HaMashiach.
Zroy.
Why do we read the seeds of Melech HaMashiach on Shavuos? What does Shavuos have to do with the Melech HaMashiach? The Melech HaMashiach is the Malchus Shebemalchus. The Malchus Shebemalchus is the point right before Shavuos. The point of connection between the human being and the Rabbeinu Shalom and the Torah is Malchus Shebemalchus, is the Melech HaMashiach. And so therefore we read about the Melech HaMashiach on Shavuos. Let's try to
just repeat that one statement again. Just repeat it one more time.
Again. The point of connection between the physical man, getting ready, the training ourselves, and the Shavuos, which is the greatest revelation of all time, where we get the Torah, where we get Hashem himself, where there's this marriage happening. The point of connection, the meeting place, is Malchus Shebemalchus, is the greatest bittul. Now, who is the Malchus Shebemalchus? Who's the greatest king? Moshiach ben David. Moshiach ben David is our connection, is the point of connection between Shavuos and us, between the human being and the revelation of Mount Sinai, between what we are now, today, and what we will be in 2 days from now. In order to get there, we have to greet the Melech HaMashiach. The Malchus Shebemalchus, the greatest bittul of all time, the descendant of David. That's why we read Rus on Shavuos. Let's understand even more. I'll digress. This past week on Sunday, we had an amazing kinus, a gathering of 40,000 people.
Just in New York.
In New York at City Field. And then thousands
around
elsewhere
the world
watching it on live internet.
Live.
Sorry,
Don't say that.
On hookup.
Live connection. Live hookup.
Sorry, kosher too.
Yeah.
.com. And the Asifa
It's all on the internet.
was about responsible use of the internet.
Yeah.
Responsible use of the internet. And there we witnessed, those of us who merited to see this amazing presentation to 40,000 people. It was overwhelming. It was just an amazing. It was the closest thing one could experience to Matan Torah, with 600,000 people hearing the voice of God. Well, 40,000 plus, maybe we'll say 60,000 or so, 70,000 people who heard the voice of Rav Shmuel Halevi Vosner speaking live to 70,000 people and issuing chayrois from Piskei Dinim regarding the internet responsible use. And one of the things that was said that I think is worth mentioning is that one cannot responsibly use the internet unless you have a filter.
That's right.
Unless you have a filter. You can't. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. And even if it were to be possible, because this is such a big problem for us and our children, we have to stand strong. And we have to ensure that we don't use internet without a filter. We can't. We can't anymore.
Absolutely.
We can't anymore. It was said, it was paskint. We can't use it without a filter.
Well,
and some people
they say if you go into a house where the internet is not...
Okay, well, leave out the details. Not important.
Okay.
What's important is the message. What's important is some of the details and the message. That's what it's important. I'm not negating the details, by the way. I'm just saying it's not always relevant in every single conversation.
100%.
The point is that even if it's difficult, even if it's hard, even if we're used to it, even if it's going to make our lives a little bit less instant, a little bit less connected. You're not from the young generation. We have to trust our leaders. We have to say Nasa v'Nishma. We must do it. We have no choice. There's no choice in the matter. There's no choice. We have to do it. Nasa v'Nishma. It's the least we can do. We were all witness with 40,000 people over there, and we heard the Gedolim say it. Just forget about the actual issue, which is extremely important. But just to be part of Klal Yisrael, just to say we can also say Nasa v'Nishma. We can also be mevatel ourselves. We can also change. We can also give up our lifestyle-ish in that sense. We can do it also. And we must heed the call of the Gedolei Hador. Now let me tell you a vort, which I found in the Mayan Beis Shoeva. Now the Mayan Beis Shoeva, I've only ever said over one vort from him. When I talk about crying, if you remember that part,
that was an amazing.
It's one of the most powerful words that I have.
Isn't this Shimon Schwab?
Shimon Schwab.
Talk about crying?
And my wife.
Crying.
Tears. The whole thing was tears.
Right. And my wife pointed out this week that although we have this on the Oitzer HaChachma on the computer, we have it on the computer, but we don't have a hard copy. And really, we should get a hard copy. She also knows that word. She was actually the one who pointed out to me.
Who?
My wife. She said, let's get a hard copy of the Mayan Beis Shoeva. So she went out and she bought it from, I don't know if it was from Sfarm Warehouse or from Miriam's. I'm not sure.
Do you have a blue cover?
No, it's the old original cover.
Oh, the original cover.
Beis Shoeva, Hagon of Shimon Schwab, the leader of the KJ Kehila, the Das Yeshurun, in what's called Washington Heights. He says a word on Megillus Rus. It's going to blow your mind away.
And which book is this?
So I'm 2 for 2 in Mayan Beis Shoeva.
Now which book is Sefer is this in? Is it regular?
Mayan Beis Shoeva.
And it's right at the end?
Yeah, it's at the end. It's in the back.
Okay.
V'rachatzta v'sachta v'samta stimlei saich. Naomi says to Rus, you shall wash, you shall, smell, I guess, smear yourself with oils, smell good. You should put on beautiful clothing. V'yaradet hagorin, and go down to Boaz's storage facility. His silo, v'yihi b'shachvoy, and when he goes to sleep, V'yadata sa'mokim asher yishkav sham, and you shall know the place where he's lying, ubas, and you should come, v'galis margelotav, you should uncover his feet, v'shachavd, and you shall lie there, v'hu yagid loch es asher ta'asu, and after you do that, he will tell you what to do. You know the story. She went down there. She goes into his bedroom basically. She lies at the foot of his bed, and he wakes up. He sees a woman in his room.
Yeah.
She smells nice. She looks nice.
She looks great.
Yeah.
Looks great.
And he tells her what to do. He says, "Now's not the time. Let's make sure that you're an eligible bachelorette for me." Yes. And they go through the process. They go to Ploni Almoni. They figure he's
Shame tov.
Yeah, he's not the one.
No, he's not Shem Tov anymore, but he was.
He's not the one that wants to redeem her, and therefore he does Yibam after. Okay, this is the Goa. That's the story. Hadavar tamua mo'id, says Rabbi Schwab. The matter is simply wondrous. It's bewildering. It doesn't make any sense. Mo'id, very much, just makes no sense. Eich nosna la eitza kazu. How could Naomi? You know, when we go back to Nach, it takes guts to ask this question also, because in Nach, you know, back when you look at things from a historical perspective, at least, you know, I don't know about you, but you know, my mind is kind of trained that when you learn Nach, you don't ask these kinds of questions, because it was a different world. It's history. You don't know the mentality of people, how they thought, how they worked. There's lots of stories, like, you know, similar kinds of things. Fine, we try to derive the lessons, etc.
Nach is the Nevi'im, the story of the Nevi'im.
Yeah, the Nevi'im, the Ksuvim, but he asks the question. And it takes guts. He says, "Eich nasna le'etza kazu." How could Naomi give an etza, advice to Rus to go? He hepech tznius mamish.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of what a Bas
Rus is a real tznius
and she's
person.
really tznius. We know that from the Megillah, because she teaches women how to bend down. You don't bend down by bending down like men sometimes do. You bend down by kneeling downwards. That's Rus taught us how to do that. So she's a isha tznuah, very, very tznuah.
No.
Even Boaz noticed how tznius she was in comparison to the other women. And Naomi goes and tells her, you know, go put on some, you know, nice clothing and go and sit at the foot of his bed, and yeah, whatever he tells you to do, you do. Right? How is it possible? Could she not have made this shidduch, this arrangement, in another way? Why did she do this? Listen to this.
Didn't we learn yesterday if a man she's alone with him, and that's already a big deal. It's huge.
Yeah.
Especially if there's witnesses.
Right.
There were no witnesses.
Perhaps we can say.
Perhaps.
Naomi beruach hakodesh. Naomi realized in her ruach hakodesh. She already knew that Melech HaMashiach was going to come out of this shidduch. This is a real Chassidish Avart from a Yaakov.
Yeah, real Yaakov.
Listen
right.
to this. He says, she knew that they had to be misaking the pgam, the blemish. That in this family there was a very serious geza. There was a very serious pgam. What was the
blemish,
pgam? What was the blemish in this family? What happened? Peretz was born, right? Tamar had Peretz and Zorach. From who? Yehuda. How? She dressed up like a Zoina.
Right.
And
that sat at the crossroads. Sat at the crossroads. Right.
She enticed Yehuda.
Right.
What am I supposed to do?
Got shoved in there by a malach.
We're about to say. And that's how Peretz was born. And Peretz was the father of David.
Yeah.
Peretz, David, Yishai, right? So, and that came David. And from David came Melech HaMashiach. So Naomi knows that there's a serious blemish going on in the lineage of Melech HaMashiach. So what does she do? Right, that was born from this Znus. Right, he considered her a Zoina. Right, and for sure it was. Don't try to tell me, he says, that it wasn't so bad, like this what everybody was doing back in the day, because it says very clearly afterwards that he was embarrassed because he sent the animals, and nobody was there to take.
We can't stay around. We're going to be a laughing stock.
We're going to be Henny Elavuz. We're going to be embarrassed.
What rumors spread around?
Now he does point out that which Yehuda, was nichshol, quote unquote, and this Maisa's Nus was rak mishum hasham malach hamamuna al taiva, the malach which is the mamuna, which is appointed on the taiva, on lust, he came and pushed him on her. Okay, now that's what the Medrash says. I don't know if that means literally speaking that he actually pushed her, or like the lust just was so overwhelming that he just couldn't handle it. Upon him, he says, L'maisa, fine, it wasn't Yehuda's fault. There was no Aveira, there was no Einish, but there was still a Pagam. The lineage is not clean, it's blemished. Ulisakein Zehabgam, in order to fix this blemish, Sholcha Naomi es Rus, L'boyaz be'emtza halaylo.
Wow.
Naomi sends Rus in the middle of the night. Lishkav etzloi, to lie near him. Ulegalos margalos, and to uncover his foot, whatever that means.
Wow.
And the Gemara in Sanhedrin says, Vinasa b'saroi kiroi shei lapetois. You know what that means? His flesh became like very hardened.
Yes.
Avo kovash es yitzroi, but he was miskaber.
He overcame his inclinations.
Kovash es yitzro. The Gemara in Sota praises, Gemara in Sanhedrin praises Boaz. He says Yosef didn't compare to Boaz, but Yosef overcame was nothing compared to Boaz. And he said that they both were nothing compared to Palti ben Laish.
Yeah.
It's a different
Who
story.
put the sword down with the wife of David and said, Shaul's daughter, and said, no way am I crossing. Nobody crosses this sword.
Right. But nevertheless, Kavash es Yitzro, V'loi ba'aleha, and he was not seduced. B'li chuppah v'kedushin, until there would be a proper arrangement of marriage.
What tikkun of Tamar?
V'nasa al yedeza tikkun gadol l'maisi Yehuda v'Tamar, and through this became the greatest tikkun, the greatest fixation. How do you say tikkun?
Correction.
The greatest correction
market correction
of all time. V'oz hayuruyim sheyitzem machalatzeim melech HaMashiach. And that point, the blemish was corrected, and Melech HaMashiach could now come out. And this was all going through the mind, the head of Naomi, when she sent Rus. Melech HaMashiach has to come. Melech HaMashiach is coming. And therefore, I'm going to send you in this roundabout way so that you can try to be Machshel Boaz. And I know he's going to overcome.
How did she know?
She knew, she had faith that Boaz was going to overcome the Nisayon.
That's a big gamble, boy.
Yeah.
It's a big gamble.
Yeah. But you know who else took the gamble? Who else took this gamble?
Ruth.
Besides for Naomi, who sent Rus and took the gamble, who else took the gamble? No. You know who else took the gamble? Hashem.
Wow. You rolled the dice.
Hashem sent us to this world. Now, in the 21st century,
right,
with
a lot of schmutz.
The schmutz.
A lot of schmutz.
With lust,
Taiva.
the Malach Hamamuna on Taiva is pushing people everywhere.
Second.
Hashem will unleash the Yetzer Hara, and He's given us open access.
Oh my God.
Whatever you want,
It's there.
when you want,
Yeah.
at the touch of a button. You name it,
It's very.
you got it. Hashem sent us like Naomi sent Rus. But why did Hashem send us? Why? We have a serious complaint. We have a serious complaint over here. And so did Boaz, by the way. What do you want from me? How am I supposed to control myself? It's a beautiful woman already. What am I supposed to do? Right? What do you want? Any normal person. Are you normal, Boaz?
Red-blooded American boy, yes.
Right?
was 99.
What do you want from me? And we have the same claims. We have the same claims.
Same.
Mark it up.
But let me tell you something.
He's going to tell us something.
Before Melech HaMashiach comes, this pgam, this blemish must be cleaned. Yisoid shebemalchus.
That's today.
We must clean the midah of the yisoid, that lust has to become malchus, and from that comes malchus shebemalchus, complete bittul of taivas. So if anybody out there is skeptical, if anybody out there is cynical and says, we can't change the world, it's here and it's here to stay, what are you going to do? Go out on the street and have a campaign against the immoral society that we live in? What are you going to do? Tell people they can't use the internet? It's so necessary. It's so needed. Believe me, that in 1920, in this continent, people said the same thing about Shabbos. How are we supposed to keep Shabbos? Impossible. This is a new world. We've got to work on Shabbos. 100 years later, 90 or 80 years later, whatever it is now, 90 years later, is there even a challenge? And we think back, we're like, of course, I was there. If I would have been there, of course I would have kept Shabbos. We never would have been nechshol with those, right? Because we don't understand. But you have to realize that's a major turnaround. Major turnaround. Something which perhaps most people at the time thought would never change ever again. It's a brand new lifestyle. Just became eradicated. There's no taiva anymore. It's like, just help me keep Shabbos to get me away from the workplace, right? It's like Shabbos is the best thing in the world that ever happened to anybody. Even it's just Shabbos.
So it's like the time of Menashe. How can anybody ever overcome a Avodah Zarah?
Yeah, Avodah Zarah. Okay, there's parallels for sure. Whatever it is, we have faith that Hashem will take us out of this. But why are we being put into it in the first place? We have to realize that the only way to get the Melech HaMashiach is to go through what we're going through now. And we must be misgaber. How do you overcome? Nasa v'nishma. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Beautiful.
Let's get our filters today.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Now we've talked a little bit about preparing, right? Trying as best as possible to fit into that nasa v'nishma, that bittul, that malchus sheba malchus. in order to reach that pinnacle so that Moshiach can come and help us sort of graduate to the next world of revelation. But what happens when a person becomes a king? What does it feel like to be a king? What does it feel like? What's Shavuos supposed to feel like? Is it more kavod, gaiva, money? What do we get when we get Shavuos? What is it supposed to feel like? We'll try to make it a little bit tangible. Rabbi Solomon in Matnas Chaim on Shavuos, on page 285, has a shtickle of a kiravnu l'fnei Har Sinai. He says, it's called the kiravnu l'fnei Har Sinai. He asks the following question. He says, l'choira, seemingly nothing is left from Matan Torah. What happened after Matan Torah? What happened? The luchos were broken.
Yeah.
That's all that happened. Nothing remained. Why are we celebrating Vav Sivan? Why don't we celebrate Yom Kippur?
Yeah.
As Shavuos. That's when we got the luchos shnios. After all, those are the luchos that stay with us. He says, no, not true. The Gemara teaches us that luchos, vishivrei luchos, munachos ba'aron.
Yeah.
Both the luchos, the second luchos, and the shivrei luchos, the broken pieces of the first luchos, were placed in the Aron HaKodesh. So there is something left. What is it that is left? And he mentions Sefer Das Tfunos, which is the Ramchal, which is Sato. In Siman 155, he says that during Matan Torah, Hashem gave us two gifts. The first gift that He gave us is the Koach HaAvoda. He says, not during Matan Torah, excuse me. There's two gifts that Hashem gave us. One is that we have the power to serve Him, to do all the mitzvos. We have the energy, we have the will, the neshama, the spirit, that we can do it. The second is, he says, koach b'maaseyah, that our actions actually have the ability to make an impact. The koach. What happens when we do a mitzvah? There's a huge impact.
We change the world from koach to koach.
Sheyuchlu la'asos tikunim gedolim b'bria. People can make great corrections in the bria, the entire world. And he says this is the difference. As the Ramchal says, this is the difference between somebody who's mitzvah va'osa and somebody who's eno mitzvah va'osa. Somebody who does a mitzvah when because he's commanded, which the Gemara says is Godol Misha Mitzvah Ba'osa Yosef Misha Eno Mitzvah Ba'osa. Greater is the person who is Mitzvah Ba'osa more than he who is not Mitzvah Ba'osa. Why? As Tosos L'chora, if you bring somebody a coffee, even though he didn't ask for the coffee, you're much greater than just bringing him the coffee when he asks you to bring the coffee.
But when you're commanded, there's an additional component that you don't.
Says the Ramchal, if you're not mitzvah v'osa,
yes,
right? Still Hashem will give you the matana rishona, the fruit.
Yeah, for a voda.
You still have a neshama. You're still able to work. You're still able to do it with a koyach. But the impact of your action is not there, because you're not connected in. You're not tied in. You're in a mitzvah v'osa. But a person who's mitzvah v'osa has both. The ability to accomplish and the ability for his accomplishments to make an impact. That's the one who's mitzvah v'osa. And of course, it ties in to our great words from the Shem Shmuel, who says, Gadol Misha Mitzvah V'osa. Why is it greater for somebody who is Mitzvah V'osa, Yosef Misha Eino Mitzvah V'osa? Because we know, Shlucho Shel Adam Kemoisai.
Right.
Shluchai shel Adam kimoisa.
Shliach is the
The shliach, the agent, the messenger of man is just an extension of him. So if you tell me to do something for you, I am your extension. If I do it on my own, I'm doing it on my own. When Hashem tells me to do the mitzvah, I become kimoisoi.
like Hashem.
Like Hashem. Mamish. His extension. I'm tapped in. I'm connected. I'm bottle. The shliach has no identity. He's just kimoisoi. He becomes the mishaleach. He becomes the person who sent him. I'm just your outstretched hand. I'm not myself. That's why it's gadol misha mitzvah v'oiser yoiser mi misha eino mitzvah v'oiser. Because I become void and full of spirituality, of godliness, of Hashem. And now I am just an extension of Him. And therefore, now that I'm tapped in, I have an impact on the great oneness of the world. There is no barrier between Canada and China. There's no sea. There's no ocean in between. We're part of the oneness of the Rabbanu Shalom. So if something needs tikkun in China, my action in Canada will accomplish that. Because I'm part of, there are no barriers anymore. I'm part of His oneness. I'm shlucha shel Adam k'moisai. And here's the irony that I mentioned in the beginning of the class. That when, we think that the way to become great is to make ourselves great. That's what the human being thinks. Somebody who's bekavadik needs to be bekavadik, right? You need, if you want to be bekavadik, don't do any work. Because it's not befitting for you to do any work. Don't get your hands dirty. You're an honorable man. I don't touch that. Right? Is that what? It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's absolutely the opposite. A person who's that is about gaiva. Now even the greatest, I once said this over to Sasemas, he says it on Mashpil Geim Ade Aretz. We read before Shemona Esrei. Mashpil Geim Ade Aretz. He lowers the haughty people to the ground. He smashes them down to the ground. Umagbia Shefolim Ade Marom. And he lifts up the low people into the great heights. So someone asks, I don't know if it's a serious question, but he says, if you're going to take the high person and smash him to the ground, but then pick him up again because he's on the ground now, why'd you do it to begin with? So why'd you put him down to begin with? Right? Hashem. It's mashpil geim, right? He's mashpil geim, and then when they're down, he's just going around in circles. Right? Is it down or is it up? So he points out, why do you have to pick him up? Why do you have to look? He points out that the person who is about gaiva, so no matter how great you are, you could be the greatest. You are the greatest. I'm maskim. I agree with you. You're the greatest. You're nobody better than you. You're smarter than everybody. You have more money than everybody, and you got the greatest family that the world could have ever seen. Okay, but you can't be greater than the greatest human being. You can't be greater than yourself. Right. Because you're a Baal Gaiva. So if you're Mashpil Geim means that if you're a Baal Gaiva, you're low. Because you're just human. But if you're low, if a person's mevatel himself,
wow, he's so high.
Then what is he?
He's a Shem.
He's a little part of the Rabbi Shalom. He's tapped in. He's connected. He's much greater than the human being that he is. He's godly. Anybody who's low is brought up to the sky, because you're low means that you're mevatel yourself to others. Okay, to others. Okay. Want a drink?
No, that's...
Water?
When do we become mitzuvim va'osim? When are we commanded? When did we become mitzuvah va'osim? On Shavuos. Shavuos is the time where we became mitzuvah va'osim. So what do we become on Shavuos?
Shlichim.
What do we become on Shavuos? We're given the power to impact the entire world. We become the Melech. Or at least married to the Melech. Right? We become the Melech. Because we've been mevatel ourselves.
We become the message.
Right, the messenger of the Melech. The agent of the Melech.
If we do it right,
we're the Melech.
If we do it right, we're even more. We're the message itself.
Right, it's true. So we can become the greatest. But how do you become the greatest? Not by acting great. By putting yourself in the garbage dump. That's how to do it. I'm nothing. What I want is not valuable. It's not worth anything. Just give it up. Nasa v'nishma. That's what was left from the Shivrei Luchos. What was left from the Shivrei Luchos? They were broken. We didn't get the Torah. The broken pieces of the Torah are in the Aron.
Mm-hmm.
That's Malchus Shebemalchus. That's the Madrega of Shavuos. It's late. So I'll conclude. We read Parshas BaMidbar before Shavuos every year. Well, there might be not so sometimes, but there has to be BaMidbar before Shavuos. Why? So Tosfos in Megillah says, since we know that you have to read the Kloloms, right? And we want Kadesh Tichla Shana V'Kiluloseha, that the year, right? Shavuos is considered a Rosh Hashanah, so the year before Shavuos should end with the curses. The curses should end in the previous year. So that's why we have to read B'chol Kosai. So why BaMidbar? Because BaMidbar has to be in between. We don't want Shavuos to touch the Klolos. Shouldn't, right? Shavuos should not touch the curses, and therefore we read BaMidbar. But why BaMidbar? You could read. Why should it be B'mei? Why BaMidbar?
It's empty. It's ready to receive everything.
Also, we always ask this question, so I have to ask it, otherwise you might review and have a complaint against me.
Oh no,
the Sefer is always, right, the name of the Sefer, we're starting a new Sefer this week, Sefer BaMidbar. The name of the Sefer has to be its essence, right? We talked about that. Bereshis.
Well, Ramban talks about this.
It has to be its essence, right? So BaMidbar is not as difficult to understand as all the others. Shemos, what does it have to do with Sefer Shemos? It should be called Exodus, right? Okay, BaMidbar, the whole thing happened to be in the desert. But L'chora just happened to be in the desert. That shouldn't be the essence and the message of Sefer BaMidbar. So how do we answer these two questions? As Fasema says, as Ian was saying, is that a midbar is a mokum shamim b'li mayim. It's a place that's empty without any water. It's also, the lashon midbar is like medaber, right? It's like somebody who speaks. And somebody who speaks is dibur v'hanhaga. Yad ber amim tachtenu. Yad ber amim tachtenu means he leads, right? He leads nations under us. Aseres Hadibros. The Zohar explains what does Aseres Hadibros means. It's the 10 principles, not the 10 sayings. It's the 10 principles that guide us. Linhog, Nahag, right, is a driver, right? He's a guide. Nahag. The 10 principles that guide us. The Midbar is a guide. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean? It means that we always have to be in a midbar. If we want to be guided, we need to be in a midbar. We need to be completely bottle. Because the second we're not bottle, the second we're not in a midbar anymore, we're going to go the wrong way. You want to stay on the right path. You want to understand. Right? You have to be mavatal. V'dibarta bam also means the same things. You'll be led in, not v'dibarta bam, you'll speak in them, in the words of Torah. You'll be led in the words of Torah. This is the hachana. This is the preparation for Matan Torah. The BaMidbar has to be before Matan Torah. Sefer BaMidbar is the Sefer where Bnei Yisrael go out there and they're just bottle. There's the Sefer of the Man, the Nisan that happened in the Midbar. Everything that's going to happen, the avoda of Sefer BaMidbar is to become bottle. And that's the lesson that we have to have in order to be zocheh, to merit that mitzvah va'osa, to become that shliach that's bottle, to reach malchus sheba malchus, the greatest level of bittul. When did Yehuda say tzadka b'mimeni? When was he mevatel himself?
Right in the court.
He was mevatel himself in the Maisa of Tamar. And so can we be mevatel ourselves. When is the most ideal time to be mevatel ourselves? When we're mamish right in the middle of the greatest challenges, of the greatest shmutz. All we need to say is nasa v'nishma. If we can do that, we will be zeicha to the Melech HaMashiach, the Malchus Sheva Malchus, who will bring us to that greater revelation of the Torah. When a person gets married, his best man or his chassan teacher must teach him that when you're dealing with a woman,
Yes.
the greatest success comes from bittul.
Yes. Self-negation.
Self-negation. I always tell, the chassanim that learn with me, so I always tell them,
The brave ones.
when you get into a fight, because that's inevitable, if you win,
Hey, apologize immediately.
well, if you win the fight,
You lost.
you lose.
Yeah.
And if you lose, you win. Which is the exact opposite of human, psychology.
Unfortunately, the brides doesn't teach her the same thing.
No. Well,
No, they
that's
do.
our avoda. We're there to be mevatel ourselves. If you win, you lose. If you lose, then you become the king of the house. You become the king. You are the king. Because you've lost. Not in spite of losing. Because you lost, you're the king. If you can be man enough to admit it. This is Chag HaShavuos. This, in the last day and a half, or 2 days, whatever we have left here, in the last 2 days, let's be mikabel. Number one, shmiras einayim, to watch our eyes. Rabbi Westmount said an amazing story.
When? At the
Asifa.
He was there.
He said that there was a doctor, a fellow, who needed to travel to Manhattan every single day. And he had to go through Times Square. If you've ever been through Times Square, it's a bit challenging to come out of there not doing an Avera. Just driving through, right? It's a bit challenging. It's kind of like in-your-face kind of stuff, right? So he was going there every day. He had to travel through his office, whatever the case would be. So he said to himself like this, and this is ridiculous. He says, I gotta overcome my Yetzer Hara. I gotta overcome myself. So he told him like this. He said, for every time that I'm tempted and I don't look, I'm going to give myself a present, $1, $1. Okay? The fellow said to Rabbi Waxman that in 3 months, he owed himself $2,000.
Whoa!
In 3 months of just going back and forth once or twice a day. $2,000. Imagine the amount of nisyonos that we go through every single day. $2,000 in 90 days. You know what he did with the money? He bought the most beautiful silver menorah that $2,000 can buy. And he lit that menorah. Can you imagine the light of such a menorah? You're lighting a menorah with 2,000 times that you overcame your Yetzer Hara? It's an amazing, amazing concept. Yeah, we live in the most challenging of times. It wasn't easy for Boaz when Rus came. Believe me, it wasn't easy for him. The Gemara says very clearly it wasn't too easy for him.
No, it wasn't easy at all.
And yet he was miskaber. And when he was miskaber, he corrected, he set the path. Now there's a green light for the Melech HaMashiach. He was mevatel his own taivas. Now Mashiach can come. If we can say Nasa v'nishma to the internet, not Nasa v'nishma to the internet, but rather Nasa v'nishma to our Rabbanim who tell us how to deal with the internet, and if we can bring ourselves to ask a shayla and not be so afraid, then we will be Zoichet to Malchus Shevamalchus, the greatest Gadlus, Umagbia Shefolim Adei Moran to the sky. And Hashem will bring the Melech HaMashiach, who will bring us into a perpetual Shavuos, one that we never have to prepare for ever again. Bebias Goyal Tzedek B'Mheira B'Yameinu Amen.
Amen.